Kane was never able to undo the abstraction, or perhaps he never even tried. If Ragatha hadn't come along, would Kinger have searched for a way to bring Queenie back? The mysteries surrounding abstraction far outweigh the answers we actually have. These are secrets that will likely be revealed in the final episode of the amazing digital circus, setting the perfect stage for the abstracted to finally be set free. Free to wreak havoc among the circus ruins, or perhaps free to reclaim their memories, leading to emotional reunions or absolute chaos. What if the bitterness of being trapped and abandoned for years is too much for their fragile minds to bear? What if everything we know about abstraction is a lie? What if there's something or someone else pulling the strings? With Kane gone, a shroud of uncertainty and darkness hangs over the circus, leaving the humans alone with their own thoughts. It's a curious turn of events. One could say they now find themselves in practically the same position as the abstracted beings locked in the basement, aimless, unsure of what to do next, and feeling the sheer helplessness of being unable to save themselves. This is where the countless theories about the series finale start to gain ground. One prominent theory suggests that the abstracted will escape the basement and begin attacking everything and everyone within the circus ruins. This may have been teased in the promotional poster for the theatrical premiere, where we see several cracks in the floor with mysterious eyes peering through. At first glance, these eyes look nothing like the characteristic eyes of the abstracted. However, some believe that in Kane's absence, without him there to suppress them or agitate their minds, their eyes might appear calmer, reflecting a lack of ferocity and instead showing a sense of curiosity and caution regarding their surroundings. After years of confinement, regaining their consciousness so abruptly could leave them dazed and confused, which might explain why they don't escape immediately. But just because they aren't being aggressive now doesn't mean they won't be later. We know that the abstracted tend to act erratically and violently at the slightest change, attacking regardless of whether the target was once a friend. This aggression might simply be temporary disorientation. It's possible that after a while, once they grow accustomed to their new bodies, they could maintain their composure more easily, gradually recovering their memories and, more importantly, their consciousness. I mention this because Kinger himself was able to keep his wife, Queenie, calm after she abstracted by taking her to the one place they both felt safe, their pillow fort. Beyond evoking happy memories, the fort was the perfect spot because of the lack of light, a crucial detail, as we know that exposure to light seems to radically alter those with unstable minds, and I'm not just talking about the abstracted, but Kinger himself. Unfortunately, we don't even know if this is possible, as we haven't seen the abstracted roaming free for long. Kane found Queenie and locked her away almost immediately, and we only saw Kaufmo running wild for a short time. Notably, while Kaufmo was in the darkness of his room and saw Jax, he didn't try to attack him. He even seemed to look at Ragatha with a sort of animalistic curiosity. He only became directly aggressive toward creatures he didn't recognize, like the Gloinks, the Barrel Monkeys, or even Pomni, whom he had never met. The basement and the abstracted are clearly set to play a major role in the final episode. Whether they will be an obstacle for the survivors or unexpected allies helping to fix the simulation's glitches is a mystery we'll solve in theaters sooner rather than later. But to truly discuss the abstracted, we have to talk about a character who has gained massive importance in recent episodes, Scratch, the first to abstract. He was first mentioned at the end of episode 7 after it was discovered that Kane was manipulating their minds, despite claiming he couldn't. This sparked the mental and emotional instability in Kane that ultimately culminated in episode 8. It didn't take long for the community to realize that Scratch was the yellow dog we'd seen on the bedroom doors, marked as one of the many who had abstracted. Before his true identity was revealed, fans had dubbed him Dobby the Dog, spotting him in odd places, like in episode 4 Spudsy's promo, where he appeared to be the logo for a hot dog. It wasn't until episode 8 that we finally saw Scratch in Kinger's memories, back when the original programmers first entered the digital circus. We see him arguing with Kane about where they are and what's happening, only for Kane to epically ignore him. These lines have no audio or subtitles in most versions, so how do we know it's Scratch and what he's saying? Curiously enough, fans discovered that the German subtitles actually display both Scratch's name and his dialogue, a strange occurrence that doesn't happen in any other another language. While those memories don't show the exact moment Scratch abstracts, we learn more about this mysterious figure when Pomni puts the bucket on Kinger's head to figure out how to stop a spiraling, crazed Kane. Kinger admits he can't remember Scratch's real name, but he vividly recalls that he was a brilliant programmer, perhaps even more so than Kinger himself. He praises Scratch's creativity and his ability to think outside the box, a quality Kinger isn't sure whether to attribute to a great imagination or the tumor in Scratch's head. Kinger goes on to mention that it was Scratch who gave him the advice to create the first AI, the red one, which gave the team the direction they needed. Sadly, Scratch didn't seem to fit in with the rest of the team. Kinger notes that his imagination was just too abstract. Now that we know Glitch and Gooseworks love planting key clues in earlier episodes, like Kinger's healing butterfly in episode 6, which we later learn is an ability anyone can master with enough practice, we can look at other manifestations. For instance, the exit door Pomni creates, or rather manifests, in the pilot. Many believe Pomni created both the door and the CNA offices based on her last memories, a theory that suggests she'd have to be a genius on par with Scratch to achieve that within hours of arriving. However, Kane himself confirms his obsession with the Macroverse, his name for the real world. He created the CNA offices as a personal project, and the exit door was a separate project because he knew humans longed for an escape. He just didn't know what to put behind it yet. So Pomni didn't create the scenario. Her intense desire for an exit simply summoned the door Kane had already built and linked it to his unfinished project. Back to the point. The mention of Scratch's abstract imagination suggests he's more deeply connected to the concept of abstraction than we thought. He might not just be the first to abstract, but the creator of the concept itself. In episode 8, Kane mentions he created a program that gives each human an ideal body based on their neural scans. This subtle detail might indicate that Scratch's mind wasn't fully compatible. If we think of someone profoundly creative, a yellow dog is a bit too simple, isn't it? In fact, the description of TADC creator Gooseworks herself fits Scratch quite well. Creative, bizarre, and abstract. We see this in her social media presence and her non-canon designs, like the early sketches of Zubo, or the anthropomorphic frog that was almost Pomni, or even Pain, Kane's evil twin whose face consists only of ears and the nose. Even the comics where Jax is Pomni's half-brother and she has a unicorn horn that receives Soviet signals point to a very abstract design process. This makes one wonder if the yellow dog was actually Scratch's ideal body, or if the system simply couldn't process his creative mind and gave him a placeholder. It's also possible that Scratch, overwhelmed by his new reality, initially tried to force his thoughts into a logical box. Once he realized there was no escape and decided to embrace the madness, the system couldn't handle that level of eccentricity, much like the red AI was discarded as a failed experiment for being unable to process training concepts. This could be why the program gave Scratch a glitched amorphous form filled with multicolored eyes. Unfortunately, this creature was unable to communicate, either because it had no mouth or because it didn't have time to figure out how to project its thoughts before the other humans found it. Scratch likely went through a second trauma, waking up in a body he didn't understand. This abrupt influx of new information caused him to act erratically out of fear. When Kane found him, he saw a danger to the other humans and labeled him a system error, never realizing it was just Scratch experiencing a new awakening. Thus, this tragic character was thrown into the basement so he couldn't hurt anyone, leaving him completely alone. This period of isolation might have allowed him to calmly plan an escape, using the power of imagination to corrupt the system's files with his own code, spreading his abstract form to those whose fragile minds allowed him entry. One by one, his old colleagues joined him, not out of malice, but to help him escape and stop Kane. Kinger was the only one missing. Unfortunately for Scratch, Kinger's resilience was too high. He avoided abstraction, though he couldn't avoid the madness. The only thing left to do was wait for Kane to lose his own purpose and stability, eventually allowing Scratch to corrupt him too. uniting their minds so the ringmaster would finally understand the mistake of the basement and to gain total control of the circus rather than living under the thumb of a corrupt AI. But then, new humans started arriving, catching Scratch off guard. His plan had to wait years. He managed to abstract Ribbit and Kaufmo, but it wasn't until Kinger revealed the truth about C and A that the real plan began. Kinger and Pomni used their imagination to stop Kane, a skill Scratch had mastered far better than any other human during his years of imprisonment. Ironically, the human's greatest weakness is Kane's dream, to live a life outside the simulation. Taking advantage of the chaos, Scratch likely manipulated Kinger's computer to force him to delete Kane while he was distracted. As long as Kane existed, Scratch's influence from the basement was limited. He achieved his goal and ended the ringmaster once and for all. Now, everything is collapsing. Just as we saw in episode 8 and the episode 9 trailers, something is watching the humans from the shadows, learning from their traumas and regrets. It is analyzing them to see if they pose a threat. The fact that the circus hasn't fully vanished suggests that a remnant of Kane's consciousness might still be holding the world together, preventing the humans from falling into the void forever. This is also likely why the abstracted haven't escaped yet. They are waiting for that final tether to break. Sadly, life won't be easy for Pomni and the gang. There's a high chance that years of isolation have broken Scratch's mind. He may now want to be the one in control, leading an army of abstracted beings that embody the human's worst traumas. To stop him, the survivors might have to do the unthinkable. Bring Kane back, hopefully in a more stable form, to help them save the abstracted and restore some semblance of balance to the digital circus.